All right, everyone, welcome in. Welcome in. It's another deep dive with TheraSaaS. Maria is joining me today, and we have, let's see here. We did our first one a couple weeks ago and had a lot of great positive responses. So, what we decided is to break it and go even deeper, break apart her extensive webinar and go even deeper into a couple of the automations that she's created. And we also have a part three lined up. In fact, there's going to be a lot more deep dives. Maria's going to join me for some. I'm going to be doing some solo deep dives, and I'll be sharing with those in a few minutes. We always like to take questions. So if you have a question, put it in the comments bar. And I would love for you to go ahead and put it in like right now. If you have questions about automations or whatever, like we want to be able to tailor this webinar for you as well. So we want to address those questions. And also let us know if you were a part of the last webinar as well. Just give us a little chat. Let us know you're there. And then I will go ahead and, yeah, Maria, anything you want to add to that before I jump into a couple housekeeping items?
Hi everyone. I think just that if you were in the last one, just for us to know if we can rush through some things or if we need to pay more attention before we deep dive into the automation. So let us know.
All right, great. Thank you. All right, so let's do a couple housekeeping things. So thank you, Maria, for joining me for this. She is the founder of PsyWriter, and she builds websites for mental health practices and has had a lot of clients. And she's also worked on automations for some of the TheraSaaS subscribers. So for those who are needing some more complex automations, she's helped set those up. So that's how we even got this webinar series started. She reached out to me. She's like, I'm doing some really cool things with TheraSaaS. Would love to be able to share with your audience if they're interested. And I said, absolutely. All right. So a couple things is we want to know where you want to deep dive into TheraSaaS. So put in the comments again, where do you want to see the deep dive series go? I have some ideas, but I want to hear from you. All right. A reminder, our mission really at TheraSaaS is to simplify marketing and sales for practice owners so you can close more client leads and grow a powerful brand. So at the end of the day, we just want to simplify marketing and sales because you went to school to be an amazing clinician, but they didn't teach you an ounce of marketing and branding. So we're here to help you do that, simplify it a bit more. All right, part three of this webinar series is going to be on March 20th. We're going to be sending out a link to to sign up again, and that will be in the TheraSaaS newsletter. And the very next day after part three, this is the only time I could squeeze it in, is a deep dive on how to create a hiring funnel in TheraSaaS. So, if, you know, at the end of the day, hiring is a marketing problem. So if you're struggling with being able to attract quality clinicians, talent to your team, then I'm going to show you how to do that. One, on the marketing side, but also how do you create a hiring funnel? So we're going to look at application forms, an actual funnel builder inside TheraSaaS, pipeline tools and automation. So we're going to go really deep. I'm going to give a lot of some free stuff away as well for you, because again, we want to simplify sales and marketing, even as it relates to hiring. Again, we have a YouTube channel, so make sure you like and subscribe to the video if you're watching this on the replay, and we'll see you on the YouTubes in the comment sections. Another update reminder for TheraSaaS is we do have our support ticket, so don't email me personally. Go to TheraSaaS. On the bottom left-hand side is the submit support ticket button. You can fill it out so my support team can help you. And then the last update here is the Group Practice Scaling Summit. So if you're a group practice owner, want to come to Chicago, or if you're in the Chicagoland area, it's going to be in beautiful Oak Park the first weekend in May. I believe it's the Thursday and Friday in May. And it's all going to be tactical business stuff, operations, finances, marketing. We bring receipts. We show you what we're doing behind the scenes so that you can quickly take some of that information and apply it to your practice. All right, I am done. So let's turn it over to Maria, and I will get her screen queued up.
Okay, so today we're going to go a bit more into the automations and the workflows and how we can build some of the one some more simple and some more complex, but we will start with the simple stuff and build from there. So this is basically what we'll cover today. I'm just going to do a quick review of the key concepts we need to know before we put them into practice. And if you didn't see the first webinar, you can go ahead and go to the YouTube and also refresh some of these concepts. And we went a bit further into the different goals we can achieve with automation. And today I'm going to go more into the practical stuff. So if you want to refresh that part, or you can always go to the YouTube video. And then we're going to do a step-by-step walkthrough. We'll start with a simple workflow and then a more complex one, and then some time for Q&A. So I'm not going to talk much about me today. Just a quick review of who I am. But basically, I started my career as a psychologist, and I practiced for about 6 years. And then I thought that it was not really for me. I really like some parts of it, but I'd rather be behind a computer thinking about techie stuff. So I basically started to do a course in digital marketing. And after a while, I thought that I could just combine these two areas of expertise, and I started working with practice owners and psychologists and therapists to work on their marketing and help them with their practice. And that's basically what I've been doing for the last 3 years, I think. So I do everything. I started as a content writer, and now I've been involved into do basically websites and content writing for websites, blogs, web design, and now automations as well. So it's been a lot of fun. But let's move on. So here are our basic key terms for what we need to know before starting to play a bit around with automations. This will help us grasp some basic knowledge. So let's start with the most basic concept, that is our pipeline. So it's a pipeline is basically a structured sequence of stages or steps that map out a process or operation from start to finish. And we can see it right here. This is basically a pipeline. You can find it on your opportunities on your TheraSaaS. So we can see that it has these different stages, different steps, and our leads or our contacts will move through here as they advance on our funnel, depending on the goal of the pipeline, but that's pretty much the concept. So in this case, a stage will be one of our columns in our pipelines. So it will represent a specific step or a specific moment on the pipeline. Like we have these different stages here from the beginning when they come into our pipeline from our phone consult, if we have a calendar, or for example, our forms on our website, or if someone calls and we can add them here to the pipeline as well. And then they will move on to the different stages as they are contacted, or as they are reminded of something, or as they fill up their intake forms. So we will move on until we can convert them, until they schedule our first appointment, that in this case of this pipeline will be the goal. Then we have the workflow, and here we are talking about a series of automated actions that are triggered by a specific event or as a contact moves through a pipeline. So here we have that example. We have a workflow here that, if you look at it kind of reminds me of a family tree. We have all these branches, and these are also sequences, and the contact will move through all these actions. And this can be triggered as we move them manually from one stage to another, or it can be triggered with other kind of actions. For example, if a contact fills up a form, it can trigger also a workflow like this, or if a tag is added to a contact. So there are a number of actions that can work as triggers and basically activate this contact to move through all this sequence of actions. So also an opportunity, which is a potential client or lead who has shown interest in our services. So what we call opportunities in this sense would be this tiny card, for example, that represents our contact or our lead in our pipeline. And a trigger, which I already explained more or less, so it's basically this first level of the workflow that is going to set up all the different actions that come following. And finally, the status, that is that classification of the opportunity's outcome. So we can see it here at the bottom. This screenshot was taken as I was moving the opportunity card. So when you basically grab the opportunity card and you try to move them between the different stages of your pipeline, this bar will appear here, and this is the status of the opportunity. You can also drag them here to basically label them as a lost opportunity, or if it is abandoned, or if it's one. So for example, if you have a lead that scheduled their first appointment, you might want to drag them here to one and basically label them as converted. So this is our key terms, and we'll need them as we step into the more practical stuff. So I'm not going to go into detail of the goals here, because that's what we basically covered in the last webinar, but I just wanted to show this slide because these are the main goals that we are going to cover today, with some of the automations that I'm going to break through. So the main goal about these automations, as they are focused on a pipeline that is basically the lead pipeline. So it's the pipeline that focuses on getting the leads from their first contact to the first appointment schedule. So the idea here for this goal is to cut down on admin overload. So try to make this workload a bit easier, and then also this, to try to increase lead conversion, as it is the goal of this pipeline, and also boost scheduling efficiency, because we're going to show one of the workflows that has to do with the how leads can book a calendar appointment or a free consultation to get that first intake screening, and how we can also create workflows with reminders to reduce no-shows and booking mistakes, or trying to focus on efficiency on our bookings, basically. So without further ado, let's start with the simplest, one of that can be the simplest workflows that we have on this pipeline. Um, so the idea here was to address what happens when someone schedules an appointment, their first appointment with a therapist, and then for any reason they don't show up. So we wanted to streamline this to help the intake coordinator um, don't so that they don't have to pursue the clients or like to be sending these manual emails to remind them or to invite them back to schedule or to reschedule. So we want to streamline this process, and what we did was to basically try to pinpoint what we wanted to happen if someone didn't show up. And this can differ from all of the practices. I mean, it depends really on your goals, what your internal processes, what you want to prioritize. But for this specific case that I'm showing you guys, the idea was not to lose a lot of time pursuing these leads. So this practice just wanted to have an email sent right away asking people or inviting them to reschedule. And then if nothing happens within the period of 7 days, they wanted to update the opportunity status to lost, and then just send a reminder to the internal team saying, okay, this contact was updated to lost, and they would no longer be active on the pipeline. So the idea was mainly for these leads that lost interest along the way to not be overcrowding the leads pipeline, so that the team could focus their energy and their attention on the contacts that are still interested and still engaging. Um, so let's move to TheraSaaS and look here to the automation. So this is our pipeline. I have this opportunity here just as a test, so we can see it. And this is the pipeline. I talk about it on the first webinar, so you can go ahead and watch that if you would like to understand the different stages and why are they divided this way. But let's move on to the automation now and show. We will start by showing the final result. So this is the final result for this automation. So looking here, now we will going to rebuild it from scratch, so I can show you all the different steps. But first, we need to see what we'll need to create first in order for this workflow to be created. So here we have our trigger, we have an email that is going to be sent out to the client, we have a wait period, and then we have a condition, an update of the status, and finally an internal notification. So to prepare to start building this workflow, what we need to do first? So we need to think about the communications that will go out automatically through this workflow. So we first need to create our email to the client. That we can do. We can write it here on the workflow itself. It has that option. We can like put none and then write here what we want to write. But for me, it's easier to create all the templates on TheraSaaS first, and then just go here and select the template that we want to use.
Right. And sorry, if I can interrupt real quick. In order to do a template, you just go to on the left-hand side of TheraSaaS, there's a little marketing tab. And then what you do is you go to emails and then templates.
Yeah, I can
right?
show you. So you can go here to the marketing, and then in this case, for this webinar, I created them in templates just for us to be able to look at them in a more designed way,
Yeah, yeah.
basically, in a more pretty way. But usually I create all of the communications here on the snippets, because this way, if we are on the conversation and we want to use one of these templates in a conversation, we can just go and grab the template here from the snippets. So I think it's easier to create them here.
Got it.
So you can choose if you want to create a text message snippet or an email. So you just create an email here. And it's pretty cool because it's going to show you the preview, so you know how it's going to look, and you can also test.
Yes, always test. If you're including links in your emails, always test them before you send them out.
And you can also put the name for you to find it easily. I think it's important, and the subject. And then this is pretty cool, and we will go and see how we can create these custom values. But basically, if I want to have a template that has all the names, I can choose if I want to send the greeting with the full name or the first name, and just choose it here.
And this is a great way to personalize it. And this also helps with your open rates too. If they see their name, they're more likely to open it up. So it's a great way to just easily create a template that will personalize emails going out.
Yeah, and the cool thing is that all the custom fields and the information that you have about the contact or about the opportunity, you can grab it here. So all that information can be used within the emails for the client or for the clinicians or as internal notifications. So you can always grab those here and place it on your emails. So
yeah, thanks for taking us on that little journey over there to templates and snippets.
Yeah, that's okay. So what I would do first is to create the email to the client here, and then I would go back and start building the automation from scratch with that template ready to use. So let's go ahead and do it from scratch. You can always use a recipe. I'm going to do as I do when I'm...
It's best usually to start from scratch, I think.
Yeah. So you can name your pipeline here. I find that is useful because then we can search for it. So here, this one, I would name it Intake No Show. I'm going to put here webinar. Okay. So then we will start by selecting the trigger that we want to. Basically, this means what we will set this workflow in motion. So for this Intake No Show, it's going to be a pipeline stage change. That means that we will drag the opportunity to this particular stage. So we're going to select this one. And then we have to select the stage that we want.
Right. And it's very important to be very specific with your triggers. So just don't say a pipeline stage, because it will trigger if there's just any change of any contact in any pipeline. So you have to say, all right, here's a pipe. We want this pipeline, and we want it to be at this stage in that pipeline.
Yes, exactly. So Intake No Show. I use the search a lot.
Yeah.
It's very helpful. instead of going through all of the things that we have here, because it sometimes can be too much stages. So this way is easier. So we are basically saying to this automation that we just want this sequence of actions to happen if it is a contact that is in this particular pipeline and it's moved to this particular stage. So that way we don't have the risk of a contact in another condition to go accidentally to this pipeline. So once we have these filters, we will save the trigger. Sometimes you can also change the name, so visually the workflow will say what is doing without you opening each action. It's a matter of preference. For me, it helps me to stay organized. So I will normally put which is the particular stage that it's acting as a trigger. So I will just write intake no show, and that way I don't have to open the trigger to know. It will appear here. So we have our trigger. So the next thing we need to do is to think about what will happen next. So once the contact is moved to intake no show, what we want it to happen. And in this case, it's going to send an email to the contact with that template that we have already created. So if we have all these things set up, the from name and the from email on our account, we don't need to.
Right. It's just going to pull from the account details that information. So if you want to specify it, you can.
Yeah.
But you don't have to.
If you want to send it from a different email, or from a different user on TheraSaaS, if you have like a specific therapist or a specific person here that you want this email to go from them, you can do that. But if not, this will pull like the basic information.
Yeah. Usually just leave it blank and it's fine.
Yeah. So here it will do the same. If the subject is not filled, it's going to pull from the subject of the template that we've created. So we can go ahead and select the template. I'm going to open just for you guys to be able to see it. So we have the contact name here that will be filled out automatically with the contact information. And this is basically saying in a very empathetic way that we
hey, where you been?
exactly.
Come on.
Basically, it is important to stay empathetic and stay engaging and understanding, and just with no pressure, inviting people, giving them the opportunity to reschedule, and if they are no longer interested, it's okay, our door is open. But basically that's the overall message.
Right. And I'll say this is very empathetic, right? Like no pressure. Just let us know what feels right for you. Now, for some practices, you could actually show a little bit of urgency, right? Because again, this is like a little bit of sales part. So you could say something like, as long as it's true, you can say, slots are filling up, our open availabilities are filling up. So if you'd like to be scheduled in a timely manner with maybe a time slot that works best for you, please fill out our intake form, or please respond, or let's jump on a call or something like that. So you can always add a little bit of like honest urgency to the email as well. Again, that's sort of like, what do you want to do for your brand? Like, what are your goals? But it's okay to kind of show that like, hey, like time's running out. Our clients or clinicians are filling up. If you'd like to get a time that works for you, then, respond as soon as possible. And sometimes with the wait list, or sometimes if you're on a particular clinician wait list, I've had intake coordinators like, hey, there's been an availability just opened up. Please respond within 24 hours. I cannot save your space, but we'd like for you, if you're still interested, let us know.
Yeah, I totally feel that it really is up to each practice and the kind of format and the kind of where they stand. I think if
I'm more on the urgent side. I like add a little urgency to it, right?
Yeah.
Because we all like, it's psychology, right? I mean, even going back to the subject line, we can talk a little bit of that. But we hate when there's a deal. We're gonna miss a deal, right? It expires, or the coupon's gonna expire, or whatever it might be. We hate missing out. So I think honest urgency it could be a nice place for it too. And if it's okay, can we go back to the subject line? Because the subject line, I think you said it was going to pull in from the name of the snippet that you use. I would put what's the role of the subject line? The number one point of the subject line is to get people to click on the email and read it. So you want to have something that could stand out. Like maybe it's like, still interested in therapy, ? Or we haven't heard from you, or something like that. It's just like, well, okay, well, let me respond to this email real quick. Like, that's the whole goal of the subject line, is to get them to open it and to engage with your email. All right,
Yeah.
I'll stop talking on the marketing side, but I think that's helpful for people to understand.
Yeah, in this case, what I was explaining is that you can write it over here, or you can write it when you're writing the template itself. And if you leave it blank, it will pull the information from the one that you set up on the template.
Yeah.
So basically, this is it. You can write your subject here as well, but we have that one right on the template, and then we can just save this one.
And I also recommend sending a test email to yourself, which there's a way to do that inside there, just to see how it feels, how it looks inside your email reader.
Yeah.
And if there's anything you need to change to.
Yeah, it's very important to test everything before making it live, to make sure everything looks good. And sometimes we're experimenting with, for me, for example, I experiment a lot with this workflow. So I always test in a lot of different phases. It's very important.
Yeah.
So the next step is on this workflow is to set up a wait period that we want after the email was sent, just to wait for 7 days in this case, and then change the status if nothing has happened. So here we will search for wait, time delay, and then we can choose days, and I will put 7 in this case. This is just for me to stay organized.
Right. Always name your action steps clearly.
So you can do this. If this would trigger, for example, an email to a client, that is not going to be the case in here. But if you wanted this to trigger an email to a client, you want to make sure that they are not going to receive the email in some weird
1 a.m. in the morning.
Exactly. Right. So you can click in on the advanced window, and you can choose exactly the times that this will continue. So in this case, it will be an internal notification, so you don't need to do this, and we'll just save it. And okay, so this is the next one is a bit more tricky, but I think that is still on the simple side of things. So now we want to set a condition, because we just want this lead to be labeled as lost if it remains on the same stage, because that will signal that nothing has happened. Because if they replied, or if you talk to them, you will move them to another column, or at least on this guideline that I set up for this particular practice. That is the thing to do. Once you talk with a person and something has happened, then we will move them along the pipeline. So in this case, we want to make sure that the lead will be labeled as lost only if it's still on the same no-show column in this case. So here we will look for the condition. Maybe it has a different name.
Is it if then? I think it's if then. Yeah.
It is.
There you go. Yeah.
So
the action name is condition. I mean, in your it is a condition step.
They all have different names. So just labeling the action name, and then we will decide what are the branches for these conditions. Or the branches are basically the different paths that the content can take on this workflow depending on where it stands. So here we want to go pick the pipeline. Yeah, this sometimes doesn't do what I want. It's okay, we can find it another way.
I think it's
it's on opportunities and then pipeline stage, and you want to say that it is the pipeline stage, and select the intake no-show. So this will be one of the ifs of the condition. So this one is the condition that if it is the intake no-show column. So I'll just put it here. And in this case, we can just leave it like this. So if it is this stage still, the workflow will continue. And if it's not, it will be none. So it will just, nothing will happen, basically. That's what this means. But if you like to have other conditions, you can always add more branches, and we will see another workflow that has this, where this happens. So the next thing we wanted to do is create the opportunity status changed. So as it has been 7 days, the contact is still on the intake no-show column. So we want it to update the opportunity and the status in this case to lost. And here we can set up a lost reason. We can create different lost reasons just for us to stay organized in terms of reporting and to be able to identify why the leads are not converting. So we can do this on custom fields and create different lost reasons for us to get this information if we are looking through the data. So in this case, I've created this one to know that this contact was lost after being in the 7 days of not showing for their intake. So let me check if I have everything. Oh, and we have to filter it here as well to make sure that it's on the right pipeline. So our pipeline is this one, and it's in the intake no-show stage. So
very important.
But basically this. Okay, so you have your pipeline, your stage, and this is the status will be changed to lost. So let's save it. And the last step for this automation is just a reminder to our internal team to let them know that this contact was changed to lost this opportunity. So we don't want to make it very intrusive. It's just let you know that this happened. So in the internal notifications, we have different types. Usually I try to filter it this way. If it's something that they need to act on, I will send them an email for them to be super sure that they will receive it and see it. And if it's just something to let them know that this happened, I will select a notification that they will see on their TheraSaaS app. So in this case, as it's just an information, I will just do an internal notification, and you can write the title for the notification. In this case, I will write client status update lost.
Can I have one way to level that up even more? Put your cursor at the beginning of the title, and then add a custom field with the first name or the full name. So right there, and then just add contact full name. So that way it's just right there at the top of the notification. And then you can say the same thing in the message below, because I think you have to have something. It's like a quick, you can see it pretty fast.
Yeah, normally I just write something like this contact status updated to lost, something like this.
Yep.
And then I put a little smile just to brighten their day. And then we can choose if they click on the notification where they will go, and we can make them go to the opportunity if they want to check something out, or the contact.
I would just go to contact, because if it's the opportunity, they're lost in that the opportunity card is removed from the pipeline.
It's hidden. It's still there.
It's still okay. It's hidden. Okay.
You can still see it on filters if you select all the status. So that is also important, because imagine that you're labeling it to lost and it stops showing on your pipeline. You can always bring it back. You just have to filter the pipeline to show all the status, because by default it's just showing you the opportunities that are active. So it's not like a super mess with opportunities. But if you want to bring it back, you can always go look for it in the lost section, or you can filter it to show all the opportunities and then recover it, basically. And you can choose, if you have different users, you can choose the specific user that will get the notification. So here we can say all users, a particular user, or the user that is assigned to the contact. So we can save this, and it's done. And then we can save and publish it.
Now this is only for 7 days, right? So what happens if they never hear a response? Do you just manually remove them, or do you have it where let's see, after 7 days, like, let me think this through. So wait 7 days, and you send them them an email, and you wait 7 days.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the thing is, if you don't hear from them,
they will be lost.
Got it.
Yeah.
If you do hear from them, if you do get a response, then what happens?
The intake coordinator, usually when after contacting them, she will move them to another column. So
move them out of that wait step. Okay.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense for the contacts to stay on the intake no show after they are. So the different scenarios are if they respond, they can schedule a first appointment. So they will be moved to the first appointment pipeline, or they can be waitlisted for some reason, or we have a client contact column if we just like have this small waiting period for them to get back to us. So there's a number of things that can happen, but definitely the idea is once you talked with them again, you will move them out of this intake no-show column.
Yeah, got it.
So the goal here, and this column was basically created because it's not that we have in this group practice case, they don't have a lot of no-shows, but the ones that they had, it was piling up on the pipeline. And after a while, the pipeline starts to be a little bit confusing. If we don't have these ways to handle these situations, if they don't show, if they lose interest at some point, it's important to have these ways to pick them back,
Yeah,
try to re-engage them, and if not, that's okay. Let's focus our energy on the ones that are still engaging and active, and let's just hide these ones.
I mean, the other thing you can do here as well is add a text message to it. So you're emailing and sending a text message with that same message, haven't heard from you thing. So yeah, this is a really simple automation and can take some of the mind, get your intake coordinator can have a little bit of their own brain space back, knowing that if they just put them in this pipeline, if they don't hear after 7 days, which is a good, a good amount of time. I mean, you could also, if you wanted to take this another step further, you could also maybe add a wait step where it's like 2 days, like say 7 days is sort of like your thing, right? So let's say 2 days and then 3 days wait step. And maybe there's 2 or 3 outreaches. And if they don't reach out to you after that time period, then, they just get removed from it.
We have that for different stages, that we basically break this down, like wait 5 days or wait 3 days and give them a call. So we add an internal notification here to the team to reminding them to try to reach them by phone. And if not, then wait more like 5 days and then it will be lost or abandoned.
So
there's a lot of ways to tailor this to whatever the internal process is or whatever it makes sense. One thing that I noticed working with the automations and the different practices is that sometimes this is also a way for people to rethink their internal processes. As they are building these automations, they are also making their own internal process a lot of easier for them and for the clients too. I think it's a way to break down everything and see, okay, what are we not paying attention to? Where should we put our energy and our time? What needs to be more efficient? Where are people like losing interest? So it's also a cool way to reanalyze the whole client journey, the whole pipeline.
Yeah. Well, we have a few minutes left. I don't know if you could jump over to maybe your second automation and either just walk us through visually instead of building it step by step. And that was really helpful. And I loved how simple it was.
Yeah, I think we need to do like a whole different one just for this, because this one is a bit more complex, but it has
and you might have to zoom in just a little bit so we can see.
I will.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's helpful.
So mostly the features are the same. It starts with a pipeline change as well. In this case will be for the first appointment schedule. And then the idea here is to have different branches for the different formats. We're here.
So, can I take one step back? So they've been scheduled inside the EHR, and you have moved them over into the pipeline status is the first appointment's been scheduled. Is that what?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in this case, we have individual and couples therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So let me take a step back in here to the opportunity so we can see this. So this where the custom fields come in, basically. So we have organized our opportunity card in a way that when before moving the opportunity to the first appointment schedule, the stage, the column on the pipeline, we fill all this information that will be pulled for the emails that are sent on the workflow. So we created all these templates to send to the client, to the client's partner, to the clinician that was assigned to this therapy. So once we schedule their information, our intake coordinator goes into here and fills up. It selects which therapy it is, the location, the date, the time, and a few notes to that will go to the email, the automatic email that will go to the clinician. So everything needs to be filled. And then if it is couples therapy, we added these custom fields as well to the partner's name and to the partner's email. And this will allow us to send an email to the partner as well within the same automation. So it will send with the information. This information will go on the email to the client, to the partners, and some of it will go to the clinician as well.
Okay. And that gets automatically populated when somebody fills out the new client appointment form.
Exactly. So in order to do that, we need first to go to the custom fields here in the settings.
Mm-hmm.
And most times I will go through here to the folders. You have this option that allows you to see if these folders are on the contact or on the opportunity.
Right.
So,
and the opportunity is where they're going to show on the opportunity card on the visual pipeline. Those fields are designated just for the opportunity, not for the contacts.
Exactly. So it's easier sometimes if you are working on the pipeline to just focus on the opportunity and not like to move to the contact information and to opportunity. Sometimes it's easier to have everything you need right there. But it's a matter of organization in terms of each person might have different preferences, but in this case, we decided this way. So you can see that it has the same tabs. So here we have our first appointment details. Here we have the couples therapy, and we also have this one that was created for different pipeline that we have with reminders for the credit card when it is declined. So we can add another folder if there's something we want to add here. If, for example, if it will be like therapist for a child, we could select opportunity and put here. And then we can save it. And we would enter here and we would add a field. And for example, we want the simple field, a text field, and it's on the opportunity, so it's correct. And we would put something like child's name and save it. And now if we go back to the opportunity and go into my test, we will see it right here.
Right there, yeah.
So this way, our internal team is able to fill this here, and this would help us then if we want to pull this information for a template, or if we want to, in this case of, for example, a workflow, we can use these fields as conditions for what happens next. So, for example, in this case, I use the virtual and the in-person.
So when somebody selects what kind of appointment you want, that custom field question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, we have different templates, different emails that we'll send out. If the person goes to virtual therapy or in-person therapy, we want to make sure that we have these different branches so they receive the correct information, because on the virtual, we will have information about what they need to prepare for the virtual appointment. And in the in-person, we will have information about the location, the parking, so important information that needs to go for each situation. And the partner's name, for example, it is important to know if the contact will enter this workflow or the individual workflow. And for the automation to do that, so we filter it by, if the partner's name is not empty, then the contact will move through the workflow. And for the individual, is if the partner's name is empty, then it will enter there.
Got it. Okay, that's a smart use of the logic there. So, all right, if they click virtual or in person, that's going to choose the condition which flow they go down.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So these custom fields are very helpful and very important if we are able to think through what we need, and you can make them be filled manually by the internal team, or you can add them to a form, so the person can fill them. So and it works anyway. So you can have all, depending on your specific process, you can filter this information right there. And it's a couple, so the partner's name is not empty, so it will add a couples tag, so it will help us with reporting later. And then it will email the client. It's a normal email with its template and the different information. In this specific case, it's the virtual, and then a similar email to the partner. The difference is that this email to the partner was set up as an internal notification, because it allows us to select a custom email. So in this case, instead of using one of our users, we want to custom email and send this to the opportunity partners email. That is basically the custom field that we've created on the opportunities. So this will pull the email from the opportunities and will send this template to the partner that has this information about their name as well.
Yeah. So yeah, and the opportunity. So going back to that opportunity card, that field that's inside of that, the opportunities, the partner's name would go in there.
Exactly. And this is the name. This is the date that we set for the first appointment details. This is the name of the clinician that was assigned. This is if it's virtual or in person. And all of this information we can pull from these custom fields and have them on the emails.
Got it. Interesting. Okay. Interesting use of the internal notification to make that work, because you're not able to do a regular email.
I think it was like something that I found.
Yeah.
A quick fix for this case, because I think it's important for both partners to be involved in a process. There's always one that is more active because it was the one that made that initial contact and was proactive to schedule to reach out and schedule their appointment. But I think that it's important to get them involved from the beginning.
Now, real quick, a qualification on the EHR. I mean, as we're kind of wrapping some things up here, the EHR doesn't send out this information. Are you the ones that they're using? Is that correct? And so you're using TheraSaaS to send some of this information out?
Yeah.
Got it. So like set appointment time right there. What's that step there?
Yeah, this is for the next goal that we have, for the next stage that we have, that get them to fill up their intake forms. So this will basically set up a time wait until the opportunity date that this corresponds to their first appointment.
Okay.
And this is basically saying that we want to wait until this happens, and 3 days before we will send an internal notification to our internal team to go to the EHR to check if the intake forms are completed.
Yeah. Oh, this is really, that's a really smart way to do it, especially if your EHR isn't sending out these information. You can use TheraSaaS to kind of bridge that gap. That's that's a pretty creative use of that too. So the set that appointment date, if you go back to that set appointment date, the intake coordinator would go into the opportunity card and manually put that information in, correct?
Yeah.
Can you show them that real quick? Just so they can have a reference for that. Guess you got to save if you,
yeah. So that information was already filled by them before they move them to the first appointment schedule, because this will actually be populated on the email that they will get with details about their first appointment. So this is already here if everything goes right. So this will be set as that date, and the contact will wait until that date happens. And once that happens, 3 days before, it will send a notification, so the intake coordinator knows that, okay, 3 days from here, this person will start therapy, so I have to make sure that the intake forms are completed. And then we have different workflows to work on that goal.
Got it. Can you show us one more thing, partly because I'm interested too, is on the opportunities page on that, are those automatically populated when someone fills out the form, or are they having to?
Oh, in this case, no, but that's possible too. It always depends on,
like, the couples therapy. If you go to the couples therapy, like that one will have to, but like the partner's name and the partner's email, is that automatically populated from a form, or do they have to manually put that in?
For this specific case, the person, the internal team will fill them out.
Okay.
But I tested that, so we have that option. We can have that in the form, and if it will work as well. So I think I've created this form as a test, and we have here exactly. So here we have what type of counseling are you seeking, and there is a condition if they choose the couples. Maybe I can review it and it's easier. It's very tiny, right?
Yeah.
So if they choose the couples, then the partner's name and partner's email will appear. So
okay, can you go back for me real quick then to show me the
here?
Now if you click on the partner's name, or a couple, yeah, it's fine. Or go back to the form builder itself.
Okay.
And if you click on the partner's name, the hidden one.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to the right-hand side of the right column and scroll down, go to advanced settings, scroll down a bit more. Can we see that? Okay, so you have that unique key at the very bottom. That's going to be created when you make that custom field for the opportunity. So that, okay, so if they fill in that information then on that form, it's going to then update the opportunity card in that spot.
Yeah.
Right?
I normally do the other way around. I go to the custom fields, I create it, and then I pull it from here.
Yeah. You can create custom fields inside of this, but sometimes you just go right to the custom field module.
Yeah, I think it stays prettier, in my opinion, to do it this way. So, for example, we created this,
Yep.
and we could like drag it here. And if someone would choose child adolescent, we could set it up for this to appear. So we could do it. We can do another webinar just about forms.
Yeah. No, that's one of the deep dive I was planning on doing, is like going into forms for a little bit.
But we have both options. So we can have like our team to manually fill all of these after they connect with the person, or you can put them on a form and they will just fill it up. But for me, it has like pros and cons, because we know that people sometimes can fill up not so correct information.
Right. Yep.
When we are talking about names and emails, we have to double check. So if we do this as a form, I would always recommend to double check once you connect with them to make sure that the emails and the names are correct.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Maria, for showing us another on the deep dive. We have one more deep dive on forms and automation, or pipelines and automations. And I'm just going to share people real quick here. You can find out more about Maria's, what she does for content marketing and website design. She works with therapists and does really good work. So look at her work there. And then also, if you want her to help you design your pipelines and automations and go deep dive with her, please reach out to her as well. And I know you have like a free gift, or it's like an
I have it here on my presentation.
Okay, I'll go back to it here.
I also did here a quick cheat sheet to help people go through this process if they want to start thinking about their workflows and automations. So basically how they can start to map out everything and build their workflows. Yeah. I can share this as well, this presentation, if anyone wants to keep it. And here I have this infographic that I did, and I can just share it here on the... I don't think I have... Okay, comments, maybe here. I can put the link here.
They're right on the... Yeah, great.
So, yeah, just a simple thing to go through the steps that we need to do. So, yeah, that's
wonderful.
it.
Well, thank you so much. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe the replay here on YouTube, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we'll see you all in the next deep dive. Thank you so much, Maria.
Thank you. Bye.